Hi everybody, I'm John with Communicate with Command, and I'm here with some great information for you today. In today's video, we're going to learn about information arrangement strategies. So if you're writing a paper, you need some help, you're writing a presentation, you need to organize first, that's what this video is going to help you with. And by the end of today's video, you'll have some great arrangement strategies that you could use and apply to your presentation or paper. So let's dive right in. Let's dive right into information arrangement strategies. Now, why are these important, first of all? Well, anytime you write or present, don't just start writing, don't just start presenting. Think about what you're going to present or what you're going to write ahead of time. And think about how you're going to arrange those things. How you're going to arrange the information within that presentation or that paper. Let's talk about some different ways to arrange things. First of all, we have one that comes very naturally to people, and it's called topical arrangement. You're used to this. You're used to how this works. So, for instance, let's say you wanted to write a paper about the film industry. You might start off and just choose 3 things from the film industry to talk about or write about. You might think, okay, well, first I want to talk about film genres, and then I want to talk about famous actors and actresses, and then I want to talk about production or editing. And when you choose 3 or 4 things just randomly like that and then speak about them one after another, that's topical arrangement. But there are a lot of other ways to arrange your information. Don't just automatically start writing and fall into that category. Think about the other ways that you could arrange information. You know some other ones. What do you call it when you arrange things according to how things happen in time? That's chronological arrangement, right? So you could actually write about the history of the film industry and start off this decade to this decade to this decade, and a final range for your last decade. So you could do it that way. Or you could do it by era, era of Impressionism, era of etc. So that's another way that you could do things chronologically. And this could work with just about anything, just about any topic you could imagine. You could do it topically and most of them chronologically. If you're talking about the development of nation, then you could talk about colonization, industrialization, modernization. You could talk about different eras of the civilization within any given society or country. But there are a lot of other ways to arrange information too. Another really good one is called order of. I like to call this order of blank because you could fill in the blank with a lot of different things. A lot of people will say order of importance or order of relevance, and that's how you could structure your speech or your presentation. But I say order of blank because you could fill it in with alphabetical order or numerical order. You could also fill in any specific sequence. So let me give you an example here. If I wanted to write a paper or give a presentation about the different types of weather systems, then couldn't I rank those weather systems according to destructive power? Sure, absolutely. And then my paper or my presentation would be arranged according to that destructive power. Go from the least to the most, or the most to the least. So that's another order of. That's another ordering structure. Another information arrangement strategy that you have at your disposal is cause and effect. And a lot of people will also call this action-reaction, or I call it cause and effect. And there's one that a lot of people get confused with cause and effect, and it's one where you weigh the good versus the bad. What's that called? Pro-con, right? So they're not the same thing. Pro-con is where you look at the good and you look at the bad and you evaluate those. So you could arrange your information that way. Another third one that a lot of people get confused, especially they mix pro-con and this one up all the time, is where you look at the similarities and differences. And that's called compare and contrast. Compare, contrast, or contrast. That's where you look at the similarities and then the differences. And then you could arrange your paper accordingly. So far you have a really good list of information arrangement strategies. You have topical, you have chronological, you have order of blank, You have cause and effect, you have pro-con, you have similarities and differences, which is called compare and contrast. But I'd like to add one more to your list, and that's called spatial. Spatial arrangement. That's S-P-A-T-I-A-L, spatial arrangement. And spatial arrangement is ordering according to space from one end to the other. From one end to the other in space. So this could be done a lot of different ways. If you're describing the human body, for instance, you could start off with the tips of the hair, work your way down to the hair follicles, which won't take long in my case. Work your way down to the eyes, the nose, the mouth, all the way down to the soles of the feet, from top to bottom. Or you could go from bottom to top. You could go from left to right or right to left. You could go from inside out or outside in, working your way down through the epithelial layers. So there are a lot of ways that you could do spatial arrangement. It's just from one end to another in space. And that can be really useful, actually. You could do this for anything. If you're describing the solar system, you could work from the inside out and work from the sun out. If you're describing the cloud systems, then you could work from the bottom to the top or the top to the bottom through the atmosphere. So you might start off with you might start off with the cirrus clouds at the top, and then you work your way all the way down to the stratus, the altostratus and the stratus clouds at the bottom. Or you could work the opposite way, from the stratus all the way up to the cirrus clouds. So there are a lot of great uses for this. I'll give you a really good example of one that I didn't expect. I had a student give a speech on the Galapagos Islands, and she decided to use spatial arrangement. And she started off talking about the creatures of the sea, and then the creatures on the land, and then the creatures in the mountaintops and in the air. And that was a really interesting speech that she presented. The spatial arrangement lended itself well to the information, and it made it even more interesting. So don't just start writing when you come up with a topic to write on or to give a presentation on. Actually give it some thought and think about the different arrangement strategies. Consciously go through your list that I just gave you. Go through that list and think about the different ways to arrange information before you write the paper. And that'll give you a creative way sometimes to write the information. It'll give you a really good way sometimes to write that information that's clear for your audience to understand. That's what you want to look for. You want to look for clarity, and you want to look for creativeness, because that's what's going to keep people tuned in. Okay? So think about information arrangement strategies next time you write a paper or a presentation. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button for me, and look forward to more with Communicate with Command. Thank you.